This episode of Juice Guru Radio is brought to you by Try Best, making healthy living easy.
Welcome to Juice Guru Radio. Discover what the magic and power of juicing can do for you. And now, your host, best-selling author of The Complete Idiot's Guide to Juice Fasting, Steve Prusak.
Well, hello. We're so excited. We've got Artsy Agnes here. She's a Los Angeles-based entrepreneur, wellness coach, public speaker, and vegan ballerina who's into juicing too. So she's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have her on the show right after this. So get yourself a juice, some tea, or water. We'll be back right after this with Artsy Agnes.
Did you know you can make a great living in the hottest new business trend today? The Juice Guru Certification Program is the world's first online course to give you the knowledge and marketing skills to excel as a juicing coach and start making money in no time. Find out more at juicecoachtraining.com.
Juice Guru Radio.
Well, welcome back to the show. I'm Steve Prusak. Thank you for tuning in. We've got Artsy Agnes here. Like I said, she's out of LA, just like we are. Wellness coach, public speaker, and vegan ballerina, known as Artsy Agnes on Instagram, and she's got thousands and thousands of followers there. We're going to hear about a little about her entrepreneurial journey and her journey into plants and juice and all good things. Let's welcome to the show right now, Artsy Agnes.
Hi. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to speak to you today.
Well, thank you for being here. I'm really excited. You know, we hear about ballerinas and we hear about plant-based. But you might be the first plant-based ballerina. Is that right?
I don't think so. I think there's quite a few of us. I don't remember who became vegan first, but probably, yeah, I mean, I became vegan in 2014. I believe that I don't know who it would be, but some ballerina out there probably, I mean, they probably became vegan before I did. So there's quite a few of us here. Well, I mean, maybe not in LA, but, you know, like somewhere in the country. Yeah.
So let's talk about that journey, because I know it's similar to mine. For me, it was like 26 years ago. I got into it through health, and I know you did too. Can you talk about what happened a few years ago, which led to this lifestyle?
Absolutely. So in 2013, I found a lump on my breast, went to the doctor immediately. They said that, it doesn't look like there's anything to worry about, but if you want to do a biopsy, we can go ahead and do that. And I chose to do a biopsy just for my own peace of mind. Looking back, I don't think that was the right decision. If I, have to do this all over again, I probably would choose the surgery right away just so that I don't have to go through that process. And the reason why is because my tumor was actually stable until I had the biopsy, and then it started growing just out of control. And so at that point, my breast doctor was concerned, of course, because we did the biopsy. The result came out as benign. But then literally maybe like a month or three, not even a month, I felt like maybe 3 weeks later, for all of a sudden, it just started growing like crazy. I just heard a beep. Is that on your side or my side?
I didn't hear a beep.
Okay, great. Excellent. I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't on my side, but I don't think it might have been on
it didn't come through on the audio, so we're good to keep rolling.
Okay, great. And so after that, I started preparing for my surgery because that's what they wanted me to do, because they were concerned that it was growing rapidly. And I remember having a conversation with my breast surgeon, and I asked her, I said, so what happens if it comes back again? And she said, by the way, I meant to tell you that might actually happen. She said, it might come back again. If you want to prevent that from happening, you should consider doing radiation. And I was so confused because I thought my lump is benign. So I thought, why would she recommend radiation? That is so strange. And it turned out, as she explained it, there is a rare form of breast cancer called Pillodi's tumor. And on the ultrasound, it mimics a fibroadenoma, which is what I had, or what they thought I had. And she said that you can't really tell until you take the lump out and actually get it tested. But she said, as a precaution, because the lump is the size of my lump was so huge, she said, I think I would do radiation if I were you. And then at that point, that was the start of when things didn't really add up for me. I didn't really think that burning my body to wellness made a whole lot of sense to me. I just intuitively know that there was something, that the answer was incomplete. It was not... I didn't have a good feeling about it. And then the fact that I asked her about nutrition and diet, is there any alternative treatment that I should try? She had no idea. She said none of that would work. She said, I even specifically asked her about hyperbaric oxygen chamber. She said, I don't know what that is. I don't think it's going to work. What about changing my diet? She said, I don't think that's going to work either. So basically there was absolutely no guidance from the other side. And that's when I started just, going online and doing my own research and joining all sorts of forums online just to educate myself a little bit about what, the condition that I had. And I don't remember which forum it was because I belonged to so many at the time. But basically, another woman was making a recommendation that I should probably meet with a naturopathic doctor. And I thought, oh, okay, sure. I'll try that. Maybe because, at that point, I wasn't getting answers from anyone. So I basically scheduled an appointment to meet with a naturopath in New York at the time. She's no longer practicing there right now. But at the time she was practicing there, transferred all of my files. And, we had a long conversation. It was a long appointment, the longest appointment ever, which was a good sign for me because she actually did take the time to ask me about everything, what I eat, my sleeping pattern, what kind of traumatic events happened to me in the past. And I was so confused that none of the doctors were even interested in having a conversation with me. I felt like they all wanted to come into the room, spend 15 minutes and get out of there, like there was really absolutely no conversation. And that was the first person who took the time to get to know me and actually ask a lot of questions about my daily habits, basically. And at the end of that conversation, she did a blood test as well. And so when I came back the next day, she said, I definitely think that you need to become vegan and you need to do a juicing protocol for 21 days just to kind of clean your system and see where it's at after that. And we can review how your body is feeling, and we can even measure the lump, and then we'll go from there, she said. So I did exactly what she told me. I took my flight back home. I remember exactly the day when I came out of the plane, went home, took everything out of my fridge, dropped it at a food bank, and went to Whole Foods and bought everything vegan.
Is that the first you heard about vegan diet? I mean,
I was already a vegetarian for 7 years prior to that, which is why I think that's the reason why my doctor thought that it would not work, because she said, well, it sounds like you're already eating pretty clean. So I don't know, what is the next step after that? She said, I'm not sure. But basically, there was absolutely no recommendation from my doctor. So that's how I became vegan. I basically became vegan in about 20 hours. And I didn't really transition slowly to it or anything like that. Actually, the beginning of that entire process, I went on a 21-day juice fast. So not only I had to become vegan, I basically didn't eat for 21 days. And then after that, I sort of adopted like a raw vegan diet for another, I would say 20 days or so. And then I started slowly incorporating like cooked vegan food after that. So it was a very extreme transition for me. Mm-hmm. But, I have to tell you that it felt really, really natural for me. A lot of people ask me all the time, like, oh my God, that must have been hard for you, like to just transition that quickly. And there was never a time in that whole entire process that I felt like my body was suffering or that I wasn't getting enough food or anything like that. So it felt very natural to me.
So what did that lead to? So you went on the healing journey, the juice cleanse, which, we're all about. I wrote The Complete Idiot's Guide to Juice Fasting, after all.
Right.
And, for those listening and wondering. So what kind of results did you get? What were you feeling? And more importantly, what was happening with the
With the lump.
diagnoses?
Yeah. So immediately I noticed that my skin cleared up, like within a week after I started juicing. Went on a juice fast. So I actually didn't eat anything. I basically did only juicing for 21 days. 7 days into that, I immediately noticed that my skin cleared up, and I used to have very, very problematic skin. So that was like the first sign for me. I thought, okay, this is a good sign. A lot of the body aches that I used to have from training 7, 8, 9 hours a day went away, which was also another good sign that I took in. And then I didn't have a lot of highs and lows. I went to sleep. I was able to go to sleep very quickly, and I was having problems going to sleep before I started juicing, actually. And yeah, like my energy level was very sustained throughout the day when I was training. I actually thought that I had to like stop training until I got used to this new not eating regimen and only, doing juicing. But it turned out that I felt great in class. My teacher even noticed it. Of course, I lost weight immediately. But, that's not even, I didn't even care about that part. I cared more about how I feel and my energy level and whether I was going to be able to do what I needed to do, like from day to day, including like training and everything. And my teacher noticed right away that, wow, like I remember she asked me, she pulled me aside and she said, "What have you been doing? I noticed that you had so much more energy these last few days, and there weren't really a lot of spikes, like highs and lows." And so that was like the beginning of my detoxing or my fast, whatever you want to call it. And then soon after that, like about 6 months after my detox, that was the time for me to do another checkup. And it was supposed to be an appointment to prepare me for surgery, basically. Because what I had asked my doctor, I asked her for time. I said, let me try this thing first. I want to see how I feel and what is the result of all of this, lifestyle changes and diet changes, and then we can talk about it. And she was very hesitant to let me go. She said, I think it's a bad idea. I think you need to go to surgery immediately, because it's growing rapidly. I also noticed that about 2 weeks after I started juicing, I can feel that my lump was not getting bigger. I couldn't tell if it was getting smaller, but I definitely could tell that it was not getting bigger. And before it was rapidly growing. So so that was a good sign as well. So 6 months after that, I went in for an ultrasound. My lump basically was reduced from 8 centimeters to 4 centimeters, which was half of the size.
Wow.
And, of course, at that point, my surgeon was confused and she said, "What have you been doing?" And I said, "I became vegan. I started a 21-day juice fast, and I also started going to hyperbaric oxygen chamber." I did all of that at the same time, basically. And she said, "Oh, okay." And even at that point, I was so confused because if I was a doctor, if a patient of mine had a success like that, I would want to interview them. Like, what have you been doing? Like, I want to study them. And there was really no interest. She basically looked at me and she said, "Well, if it's working for you, that's great. Keep doing it." That's all she said to me. And it was so confusing to me. And so at that point, I basically scheduled my surgery because I knew that I was able to reverse it. And it was at a size that was safe for her to take out. And I did have surgery about maybe, I don't remember, a few months later after that. She removed my tumor. She tested it, and sure enough, it wasn't the rare breast cancer that everybody was afraid of. It was a benign tumor, and I had it retested at 2 different labs, and they all came back benign. But even after that, my surgeon said, "Well, I still think that you need to do radiation." And I just didn't. I didn't even go back for my appointment after that. I didn't really want to do that. That whole treatment protocol of radiation and other stuff.
What was the reason for that? I mean,
I think she basically told me that like a fibroadenoma, which is what mine was classified as, a giant fibroadenoma, which is supposed to be a benign tumor. However, there are cases where it became a Phyllodes tumor, which is a rare form of breast cancer. Mm-hmm. So she said, in order to prevent that from happening, I would want you to do radiation just as a precaution. And it really didn't make any sense to me at all. And I asked her, I said, how can you guarantee that if I do radiation, it's not going to come back? And she couldn't even, she didn't have an answer for that. So it just sounded like a therapy that probably would make doctors a lot of money. And I didn't really trust that. I trusted my own intuition that I was well. And so, and of course I still did all of my checkups, like she recommended every 6 months, and I actually came in every 3 months. And yeah, so far so good. Nothing came back.
How long has that been now?
Let's see. So 2014, 2015, like 4 years, a little bit over 4 years, maybe. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's quite a health journey, inspiring too. And so how's it going now? Because I love that you're still doing the daily juice habit, and really I find that exciting. I also want to hear a little about the juices you were including. We're also going to talk to Agnes about her entrepreneurial journey, because as we know, we've got a lot of certified juice therapists through our Juice Guru Institute out there that are wanting to build their own following and get the word out. So we're going to hear a little about that. So everyone stay tuned. Make sure you got your juice and also a pad and paper. You're going to want we can say a pen and paper, not a pad and paper, but you're going to want to take some notes. So let's talk a little about some of the juices you've been enjoying, and during that cleanse, were you doing fruit juices, green juices, and we'd of course love to know your favorite juice.
Right. So during the cleanse, when I was trying to reverse my tumor, I did nothing but green juices. I drank basically about 64 ounces of celery juice in the morning. Then I would probably do another 64 ounces of just green juice, like kale, spinach, celery. I think I put garlic in there, and these are all basically recommended to me by my naturopath. It was very much a healing journey for me at the time. I don't think that I was enjoying the juices per se, but I just kind of took it like as it was my medication. So that was like my pharmacy, basically. That's how I looked at it. Yeah, so like a lot of green juices, sometimes I would drink like just 100% kale juice, 100% of celery juice, and I just kind of alternated them. That worked really well for me. I had a lot of energy. I felt my body felt great. I felt great. So now, even though I'm not trying to reverse, a condition anymore, I'm still leaning towards more of the green juices than the fruit juices. But, in the morning, sometimes I do carrot and orange or apple juices. But really, the green juices are kind of my staple juices. So, yeah, like my favorite, like this morning, this afternoon, I just had a kale, celery, spinach, garlic, cucumber, and I'm trying to think what else, and green apples. And that's it.
Nice.
Yeah. And
what kind of juicer do you like to use?
I used the Breville Juicer, and it's been working amazingly for me. And I actually collaborated with them not too long ago for their Instagram campaign, and it was really fun.
Hey, wait a minute. We're sponsored by TriBest here. We only recommend. Well, it happened. I always say the best juicer is the one that we use. And for me, I've been using TriBest for 26 years, and there's a reason I think they're the best. But I don't care. I used to have a Breville too.
Well, I definitely want to check out what they have, because I might switch. I don't know.
Yeah, we might want to get you in I'll give you the family discount if you want in.
Yeah, for sure.
So this is exciting, and I love, here you are, obviously an artist and a ballerina and obviously a vegan athlete and all these things. And let's talk a little about diet. Are you a processed food vegan, a whole foods vegan? There's so many different ways to do a vegan diet. So when I see the word vegan, I'm like, what kind of a vegan are you?
Right. Yeah. So I actually don't eat that much, to be very honest with you. I mean, I feel like because of my, the whole detox and the cleanses that I did throughout, my healing journey, I think my body, I don't know. I just don't feel like I need to eat a lot. I don't really know how to say it other than that. I'm definitely not starving myself, but right. I definitely drink a lot of juices in the morning and I just don't feel hungry. And I've been doing intermittent fasting the last year and a half.
Yes.
And so usually, my last meal of the day will be at 8. And today I haven't eaten anything. I mean, it's 4 o'clock. Typically I take my first meal at about 5 o'clock and I would probably do a second smaller portion meal at like 8. And that's pretty much about it for me. But, at 5 today, I probably would I always make sure that my first meal is raw. So usually for my first meal, whenever I have it, it's basically kale salad, kale, cucumber, mushrooms, garlic, spinach, sometimes lettuce, any green leaves I can find, broccoli, all raw. And I just make my own very simple salad dressing. Basically, it's apple cider vinegar and like pepper. Sometimes I put a little bit of jalapenos and squeezed lemon, and that's pretty much my meal for my first meal of the day. I typically consume that every day. I don't really like a lot of variety of food. Like I feel like my body performs better when I eat the same kind of food. So that's what I do. And for dinner, lately I actually haven't even. I can't remember the last time I ate dinner last night. I definitely didn't eat dinner. I usually do a shake, and that's kind of like my dinner. So, yeah, that's right. All I eat.
We don't need to overthink it. We don't need to be ruled by our fork. It's interesting to know that you adhere to all the principles here at Juice Guru, so it's exciting. All the things we teach. And it's interesting to find out that we can survive eating less food, actually, isn't it?
Exactly. And I not only that we can survive on less food,
I should say
we can thrive. Yeah. We can definitely thrive. Yeah. So exactly. It's just my body feels much better ever since I started eating less, and that was such a revelation to me. It was.
Did that come? You have a really good naturopath. Did that come from her too?
No. She actually told me to eat cooked vegan food, and I was cooking my vegetables and everything. And then I went to this vegan restaurant in downtown. I don't know if you've been there, but it's called Olak.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm very good friends with the chef there, Chef Ito.
Yes. I love Ito.
So basically he was the one who told me about raw, basically starting a raw vegan diet. And at first I thought, oh my God, that's so complicated. Like I have to dehydrated stuff. And I don't have time for that.
Right.
But then, he said, well, you can just eat a salad. That's also raw. And I thought, he's right. You can keep it very simple for your, something that works for my schedule. I mean, I don't have time to do what the raw vegan chefs are doing, I just don't have time. I mean, it's not possible with my schedule to do that. So, I just keep it simple, and I just always make sure that there's at least one raw meal that I consume every day. So.
Well, I'm really excited now to hop into the entrepreneurial part. I've been talking about health for so many years now. And for me, with our own business, everything we're doing and learning, this is my favorite part. I love talking about your entrepreneurial journey, living your passion, some of the ninja strategies you're using in your own business. And we like to pass this on to our certified juice therapists out there that are building their own practice, helping to inspire other people to get healthy, but making a good living doing it. So what inspired you to start getting your message out there, and over 22,000 followers on Instagram? You're really crushing it, we can say. want to talk a little about that entrepreneurial journey and, how that came about.
Yeah, like the whole Instagram account was like a complete accident. I mean, a lot of the stuff that has worked in my life, unfortunately, just sort of happened to me. I feel like I didn't really, I wasn't trying to build an Instagram following per se. I just had a very, very small Instagram account. And I started Instagram very early in 2013. I actually started my Instagram account before I had my health scare. So at that time, I was a photographer. And so I just wanted to promote my photography items and, what I was doing. And I had like 68 followers for the longest time. Nothing was growing, nothing was working. And I didn't really have enough interest to grow my account at that time. So I thought, well, whatever. And then maybe a year after I started my Instagram account, my friend told me, hey, you should post a picture of yourself so that people can see who is behind the lens. And I thought that was interesting. And I didn't really want to do that. I don't really like posting pictures of myself on social media, but I, kind of did it just as an experiment. Mm-hmm. And so I posted a picture of myself in a ballet pose in front of the Walt Disney Concert Hall. And literally my account had got like thousands of likes within maybe like 5 minutes after I posted the image. And I didn't even know what was happening. I was so confused. I thought, who are these people? I have a small account, so I didn't really understand what was happening at all. And it turned out that my picture made it to the Instagram Explore page. And at that time, making it to the Instagram Explore page was a big deal. It was much more of a big deal than now, because right now I think Instagram is restricting all like the views and the reach and the engagement and everything. And at that time, it was like the original Instagram, and nobody was playing with algorithm at the time because there were only so few of us on Instagram. So I think they were trying to heavily promote like their users. So I received about like maybe 7,000 followers for like within a week. And then a week later, a social media agency contacted me over direct message. And I thought it was a scam. She said, I literally thought it was a scam. I mean, not even kidding you. She said, have you ever thought about becoming an influencer? And I said, I don't even know what that is. And she said, why don't you come in and let's do an interview and let's see if it's a good match. And I went into the interview because I wanted to know if they actually have an office. Like I literally thought, oh my God, I probably would drive to an address that and find nothing there, and it turned out that they did have an office in Santa Monica. We did an interview and went very well. And she said, there's a lot of brands who are interested in working with a ballerina, but most professional ballerinas, they're in a company, which at the time I already left my ballet company. Those ballerinas, they're, in the studio 9 to 7, and then they have performances afterwards. So it's like you're basically tied up from 7 a.m. to midnight. And there's really no way for them to be a social media influencer. They just wouldn't have the time to do that. So she said, I think you fit a very small and perfect like niche right now, and you have the availability. So let's go ahead and try that. So I said, okay. And I signed the contract the next day with them. And the first collaboration we did together was for Free People. And it was a giveaway, and they shared my giveaway on their page. And I had like 5,000 followers from that whole thing. And it just, I just never looked back. And right now my account is actually a little bit over 500,000 followers. So, it just continued building from that, and, collaboration after collaboration after collaboration with like different brands. I mean, I've collaborated with so many brands and so many great companies. I just feel so fortunate. So, yeah.
Well, what I really love, you've got this monetization piece, the $1 million program. And, so what's Agnes's $1 million program? How'd that come about?
Right. It's basically, last year I basically established I started my wellness coaching practice after I got certified as a wellness coach. And then, my clients, it was so funny. My clients, they asked me, they said, oh, what are you doing like as far as like making money and all of that? And so I would tell them that, I actually do trading every day. I day trade, and I have other things that I'm doing as well, as in terms of like trying to build my own financial well-being, because I think it's that was the natural progression for me, from, like physical well-being to financial well-being. It was a very natural progression for me. So when my clients were interested in what exactly I'm doing, and I was sharing it with them, they all said, you should create a program, because I would totally join. And so that was kind of like the start of my $1 million program. Last year, one of my clients who had very late stage of breast cancer, we had to do a fundraising for her. The goal was to raise $100,000, and we were racing with time at the time. And so, there was a committee that was actually trying to pull together the money, and, the donations were coming in, but of course they weren't coming in fast enough to, reach our goals. So I said, okay, so let me take a stab at this. And I tried it with like small amounts first, with like the different strategies that I was implementing. And then when I saw that it was working, we tried it with like bigger amounts, and we were able to raise everything in 6 weeks. So that was quite a huge accomplishment. And I'm so glad that everything worked out, because, with any kind of investments, there's always a risk. I mean, you can never predict how it's going to go. But I think we made very good calculated risks, which was one of the reasons why I started, investing and trading. I really love the fact that it's basically it forces me to make calculated risks, maybe risks that I'm not brave enough to take in real life. So that was like one of the reasons why I started doing that. So now I have this program called the $1 Million Program, where the goal is basically to help people reach financial freedom, financial well-being. If you don't want to work, you really shouldn't be working. And it has 74 members so far. I divide them in 3 different groups, and everybody's thriving, everybody's having fun, which is the best thing. So the most important thing. And yeah, we're just kind of like growing every day with each other. So we do like I do webinars with them. We have training every day. Like today we had training at 9 a.m. We take a look at different strategies, investment strategies. Lately, I've been focusing a lot on Forex, on foreign exchange, because I think that there's an opportunity there. We've also done like penny stocks in the past as well, and just different tips and strategies to start building your wealth, and not so much to like become a millionaire or anything like that, but just to have financial freedom and well-being. So,
so much fun. By the way, you're talking about all this. I'm like, why aren't you a certified juice therapist with us? And I don't know have you even heard of our program? We've got to get you in there.
I know. I want to hear about it for sure. That sounds like something that I wanted to get certified in.
Of course, you are like a natural, and you that's definitely something you need in that toolbox. I'll
for sure. Yeah.
Talk about that another time though. But I love everything you're doing. This is really exciting. And let's just find out. I've got it here, and I know your website is up on my screen. And so the best way for everyone to get a hold of you is through the website, or is at artsyagnes.com. That's artsyagnes.com. Don't worry, we'll have the links up at juicegururadio.com under the show notes for today. And also on Instagram under Artsy Agnes, right?
Yes. Instagram is a good way to try to get a hold of me, because I'm on it all the time.
Well, I'm really excited. I love the things you're doing, and we'll make it worth your while to work with us, because I think there's so much we can do together. So we'll talk about that off air, though.
Yeah, for sure.
But any final words of advice for the people out there that are juicing, starting to eat more plant foods, and and are trying to be a health coach too, and just make a life out of all this?
I think, my biggest piece of advice, like I see a lot of people around me whether they're trying to incorporate juicing or become plant-based or vegan, whatever. A lot of people, I think, always start with wanting to do it perfectly, and then they fail, and then they don't ever going to come back to it, So I think it's just, I always encourage my health coaching clients to take it to take it slowly. I mean, I had to do it very, very fast because of the circumstances that I was in. And in a way, you know, I'm so grateful for that, because I really didn't have time for all the complaints and the whining and, you know, and like, oh, I don't like this part, I don't like that part. I just had to sort of, you know, I had to do it 110%, knowing that I wanted to get well. But for people who are not in my, who don't have any kind of disease to reverse or anything like that, I think to just take it one step at a time, you know, like I can even see it in my health coaching clients. A lot of them are very overwhelmed when they are transitioning to a plant-based diet or juicing. They don't know when to juice. Like, oh my God, I have to spend so much time, you know, preparing for all of my juices for the day, and I have a full-time job, and, you know, how do you incorporate that? So, I mean, I always tell them, start with one glass of juice. Like, you do not have to drink, you know, what I drink, which is huge quantities of juices every day. But, you know, you don't have to start at that. You just have to start at what is manageable to you. And there were things that my naturopath told me to do that I couldn't really implement just because of, you know, the restriction of my schedule. I mean, a lot of the things that she wanted me to do, like, for example, I don't remember what it was. Like just cooking all of my food, like making sure that I know exactly what the ingredients are. I didn't have time at the time to cook all of my food. I mean, sometimes I'm out and about, you know, having meetings and just going around town, and I had to figure out what worked for me. And, you know, going to a fresh, like, juice place, I love that. I mean, it's not the cheapest option, but for me, that's better than, you know, going to like a fast food place or like even like a vegan restaurant that serves processed food, basically. So I always, whenever I'm out and about, I just kind of go to one of those juice places that basically makes your juices fresh on the spot, and that's my meal.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank her again one more time. It's over at juicegururadio.com, and I gave you guys the website there. But again, we want to thank Agnes for being here. Artsy Agnes, thanks for being on the show and all the inspiration.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so much fun chatting with you.
I'm Steve Prusek, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Juice Guru Radio. Find out more about us at juicegururadio.com. Until next time, get your juice on.